It concerns the titular Sally, who is a mad woman on a quest to prove the existence of Atlantis in her homemade sub.
In times past, the gift of Steam Sight was highly respected and cherished by all. Those who possess this gift, known as Steepseers, can observe foretelling visions within the steam of various teas. By brewing just the right ingredients, those bestowed with Steam Sight can create a myriad of prophetic steams. Oh, pardon me a second. The right ingredients and help from steam spirits, like myself, of course. Okay, where was I? Right. The Steepseer then interprets the vision and offers their visitors sound advice. It used to be that I had near constant requests from Steepseers to aid in their visions. The knocks at the door are fewer and fewer in recent times. Something has spooked the humans into acting as if we don't exist. Perhaps that is why we are fading away. Time is of the essence as we enter our final 10 days. Belief in us must be restored before we, spirits and Steepseers, vanish forever. Choose one of 4 tea houses to call home. Attune to various vision cards which you will attempt to fulfill with the right ingredients. Don't worry, we Steam Spirits will help you out along the way. Roll the dice and collect ingredients to place in your teapot. You will have to remember that what has gone into your teapot and wisely choose when to make the pour. If the needed ingredients are present, the vision is triggered. Take the vision card, reattune, and begin brewing your next tea. Visions generate belief, and you will have in-game and end-of-game effects to boost belief even higher. Be the one to inspire the most belief. Perhaps you will go down in history as the one who saved us all.
Willing to talk about your sales?
Yeah, sure. What do you want to know?
Yeah.
How have they been?
How you do it?
What happens? Well, first you have a product, and then you talk to it. No, okay. They've been pretty good, especially considering like it's again us really. It's a small team. We don't really have any distribution deals or big store contracts right now. We get our games into a lot of small local stores by basically just walking in and talking to the owners. Eric has done a great job walking through most of like the Ithaca and southern like tier area there of New York and getting our games all around.
We're
Yeah,
technically
NYC?
selling internationally now too.
Oh, really?
That's true.
Because I went to my local game store and sold a copy. So that felt great.
We're getting there slowly. Conventions again have become kind of the main way that we get our games out there and in people's faces and excited about them, and we have really good success at most conventions when we can be there talking about the games and get people really into it. I would say we've probably sold out half of both of our products so far, which again, that's like several hundred copies each. So I think that's really good for, you know, a small team with fairly limited resources at this point.
That's awesome. I can only imagine how difficult that would be. So when Gary and I launched Burgle's Bounty 4 years ago now, we made $86 off that. Uh,
Hey man, that's a lot more than I thought we did. I thought we only made like $5.
we made a whole $86.
Where's the
Gary.
profits, Blair? You pocketed that.
They went right back into Kids of Karendow. And Kids of Karendow, off of the donations from itch.io, were at about $50, and the game still has probably a good 4 to 5 years left in the development cycle. So I would say we're doing pretty good already. All right, so game 3, guys. What is it? What can you tell? What do you want to share?
Suppose I'm up, huh?
Yeah.
So our third game is called Sally's Submersible. It concerns the titular Sally, who is a mad woman on a quest to prove the existence of Atlantis in her homemade sub. So it's a
I
bit of
already
a
like this concept. I'm with you. Yeah, it sounds awesome.
it's a bit of a departure from the theming we had going with the first 2 games. I would say actually it's a bit of a departure in every respect. It's not a crafting game. It's not a non-violent game. It's a explorative, lightly combative game where you're managing your, you know what? In fairness, it is a resource management game. Your sub has a number of different systems, and Sally is running a submarine by herself, which is not easy. It's a bad idea, and it was made in her front yard. So it is constantly taking in water. Systems are bursting into flames. She has to manage them all as she's navigating the ocean, fighting monsters, discovering wacky things, all while searching for the key to the gate of Atlantis.
Worms.
Yeah, there's Ruzel worms. That's true.
Worms.
That's
Watch
one
out.
of-
And
one of
Ruzel
the
worms.
monsters.
So is everyone playing as Sally, or is their own version of Sally? Is there a Karen involved in there, maybe?
So
Sorry, I
if
couldn't
you're
help
playing
myself.
so it's worth mentioning, I should have said this at first, it is a solo game
Okay.
initially. It can be played with 4 players, but its standard play is solo. Hello, gato.
Oh, your cat looks just like mine.
Say hi, and then say
Hi,
bye.
kitty.
So yes, it's a solo game, but there is accommodation for 3 more players who are 3 different characters who are actually part of the story of the game, which the game has a light campaign that one can play. So you have a series of missions to play. But it's kind of a weird word within tabletop play, but it's technically a procedurally generated game with tiles. So the
What is
game.
Oh, sorry, how does that work?
So
A
it's
procedurally generated tabletop game.
Yeah, so each time you move the sub, you can go to a different tile. There's 3 different levels of water, each level being deeper and more difficult and carrying more frightening monsters. But of course, you have to go very, very deep to find Atlantis. If there is Atlantis, spoilers. But yeah, so it's actually handled quite simply. It's a grid of flipped over tiles, and then you hop from one to the next. And certain tiles have a chance to have an encounter on them, which is a monster or maybe some treasure or some other unique event. And you're picking up upgrades and more resources. And so each time you play, it'll probably be different from the last time you played.
So was this one at Play NYC? Did you show this off?
I did not. I wasn't sure the degree to which I could talk about it at the time. I had a couple of people asking, if we had anything planned up next, and I said, well, yes, we do, but I can't say anything. I wasn't sure if I could, so I just defaulted to I can't. No comment.
How far along are you guys?
Well, so it's worth mentioning that the initial creation of this game was back in January of 2020.
Okay.
Because as a personal test for myself, aside from working with Kinsoul, I challenged myself to make 12 games in 12 months. and so each month make a new tabletop game.
It's like doing a major game jam for like a actual digital game or something.
Right. So I wanted, as a designer, to test myself specifically in places where I felt I was weak as a designer, but also to explore like cool concepts that I'd thought about a million times but never did anything with it. So I have a whole host of games now that I have on my computer or prototyped throughout my studio that are just sort of like 1 to 2 mechanics slammed together in a gameplay loop. So Sally's was the first of the projects, though. Because it was a challenge to myself, because I don't like dice. I don't like dice in general for tabletop games, because there's a certain variety, certain type of randomness that I don't think is particularly fun. So with that in mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to challenge myself to make a dice game. So that way I have to get good at math, well, better at math, but also I have to sort of analyze what the weaknesses of dice are and how to improve upon those things that I perceive as weaknesses. And maybe gain an appreciation for why I see these consistent, what I think are faults within dice-based games. So anyway, I just got to work. I made all the artwork, I made all the pieces, I printed it out. So I have various copies laying around the house. And then as time drew on, I mean, I can't keep this a secret from Kinsoul, like, hey guys, check it out. I have this game I've been making. And of course, by that point, they're like, yeah, we hear this a lot from you. You're making a lot of games.
Yeah, Jordan.
So,
Like,
I mean,
sure.
I literally have,
Oh, we're gonna see it, are we?
We're on a trip. Ooh, field trip.
All right, we're gonna be able to see something that we probably shouldn't see.
well, in my studio, I have my game toolkit, which is just filled with all my little pieces and tools that I want. Whenever I'm just thinking I might make a game, I have some idea. It's all faded from a martial arts card game, card and dice game that I made. So
Yeah, Jordan likes to hand make a lot of his initial pieces for things. Like we were at a show one time.
Incredible.
He was sitting there like actually sculpting.
Yeah, I remember that.
I do an awful lot of prototyping for myself because I can't be bothered to wait for shipping times.
Fair.
Oh yeah, this is I upgraded to a larger kit there. Can I show some of Sally's, like the early stuff?
No.
Management has spoken.
So this is the initial version, which can fit in a bag this small.
Wow.
Missing some pieces though. Can't figure out where those went. Here's our little resource tracker. That's how much water you've taken in, your hull value, your weapons, your fuel, and your electricity. See if I can find anything fun. But the tiles, oh gosh, this is literally the first one I made, I can tell, because the real one's printed. So I wrote
Eye
on
on it.
So yeah, we have weird little monsters on the tiles. Some of them are blank.
Here's the Ruzel worm.
I can show you a Ruzel worm, that's true.
Did you print these off yourself then?
I did. I drew all the art just so that way, I don't know, it's easier for me to imagine what the game really looks like if I've made some stuff for it. And this is what Jeff was asking for, by the way. This is the Ruzel worm. Occasionally, Sally has little post-it notes that she puts across the console of her sub, and you can read them here.
I like the Sally person. She seems very organized.
She's an interesting lady. She's partially on this journey because she's running from the HOA. So
I don't blame her for that at all.
So anyway, it's I wish I remembered exactly where I just moved to this new apartment, so I don't know where all my stuff is, but I wish I could find the slightly more complete version of the game. But anyway, so to answer the real question that you asked at the beginning of this, just a few months ago, we sort of decided that, COVID somewhat easing up, it's time to get back into the game design world because Sally's had been paused for basically the entire pandemic.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah. So the game, a version of the game is complete. And the latest version, which has been quite updated since its initial release, is I just finished it up, 2 days ago? And we're going to start testing it together and playing around with the pieces. And we'll be bringing that version to Metatopia first week of November.
Great. So dare I ask, Kickstarter?
At this point, probably.
Yeah,
Most
yes,
likely.
I would say.
Probably. Mainly just because we don't have a good alternative at the moment.
I've got my money, just so
you
you
got a
know.
crowdfunder. Great. You're still gonna get all the messages though. Sorry.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
probably at least 2 from each of us.
Great.
At least that's
I'm
a
excited for it now.
multiples of us. Like you get them
Jordan
all.
sold me. I want this game. I'm ready
Like,
now.
Hey,
I
I
just-
don't
how are
need
you
more
doing?
people. I can play this game alone, it sounds like. And that's the biggest problem with the other games. I have very few people to play with.
Well, I mean, just to know,
I have
real
no
quick,
friends.
on Steepseers, that actually is a 1 to 4 player game, so you can
That
play
it
it
is.
by yourself.
That's true.
I
Yes, you
haven't
can.
done it before.
You
Just-
should.
It's fun, actually.
It's good.
I'll give that a try. It's been a while.
As
You have a
a-
kettle, Blair? It sounds like you need to brew some tea for this game.
You do.
I do have a kettle and I have a lot of tea. I should.
It's only proper.
You should have some tea and some like nice little Zen music. We actually made a soundtrack for the game as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, knowing so
I
many talent, like
I
my
don't know if I
sister,
knew that.
Oh, we know a lot of musicians.
we know a lot of musicians. My sister did some music for the first one,
Mhm.
and she's done everything. Okay,
Well,
she's
she
not.
also
She's a musician, an electrician. She's an artist. So she made some of the stretch goals. Is that what it was?
yeah. This is one of the highest reward tier items we had in the Steep Tier Kickstarter. Was a custom made box from her that she would wood burn and carve. And wait, is this one filled? No, this one's not filled.
Maybe this one is.
She would fill
Oops,
them with
oh,
like
there
a
we go.
foam and a colored silk of use a player's choice.
That
And-
was the logo right there. Is Steepseers one.
yeah.
Holy crap! Like the amount of effort that is just phenomenal.
Yeah, the graphic was pretty cool. But yes, Erica Zalatin. What would Erica do
Mhm.
on Instagram? What and then the word would WOOD. Erica do. Check it out.
Great
Adam,
promotion
this
for
is
it.
about us.
Yeah. Not
My
just-
sister is talented.
Yes, no, she is very talented. Definitely.
Blair, I can leave you with a final teaser here. If
I
I,
would love a final
can I
teaser.
share screen? Is that possible?
Yes, it will be picked up in recording, but they'll only be able
Oh,
to
that's
see it on
fine.
YouTube. But that's great. Go for it.
The art is not necessarily representative of the final results. We'll have a real artist make it in the end. But this is the teaser that we have just for the splash graphic to put on the Game Crafter box and everything. And that's your sub right there.
Sweet.
Yeah, we're very
Sally.
excited about this one, and we're definitely planning to take all the lessons that we've learned from the 2 games now, and really see what we can do about making this game a little more quickly, a little more efficiently, less stress as much as possible, and just keep refining our process. Like we have so many game ideas between all of us of all different things that we want to do and try, and I like to think that even we're on our 3rd game, which is more than so many other small like indie companies can even say. We've been going for a while, and I'd like to think it's the beginning. I think we have a lot more to give.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I think we have like a document in Dropbox called Game Ideas, and there's like 20 on there, just waiting for us to make them at some point.
Mhm.
Just kind of like Jordan said, he has a bunch of game ideas. Before Jordan had the same thing, so
Mhm.
we have a lot of ideas to make games about.
Well, you got a long way to go then. Sounds
Yeah.
exciting.
Never gonna run out.
So Gary, how does this sound? Do you guys want you want to make tabletop games next? We had that one idea on in the pipeline for like 20 odd
Well, I
years.
did ask this of you. I can't remember if it was actually during the podcast or not. But I remember back in the day, you, Phil, and your brother had an idea for the game. I think it was called Royal Block.
Royal Guard was the official name, and it was based off a game that you and your brother made actually.
It was mostly my brother. Like I think the game that we made, I guess, was kind of like more like a quick game that you can play within kind of like 10-15 minutes. But I remember when we played your version, it was more kind of like longer
Yeah,
and
go
more
for-
involved.
Yeah, it was far more strategic and could last for a while. It was just use a standard 50. Actually, we use jokers too, so it was 54 card deck. We could make our own deck out of it, but it was basically just a card game. But we found it a lot of fun. Who knows if other people would? I believe Phil actually made a version of it on computer many years ago, but I've never seen that version of it, and I think he wanted to make online play out of it too, but I don't know if that ever went anywhere what state that's in. But hey, maybe it's so we can revisit one day.
Dude, do you even remember how to play it?
I do. The instructions.
Oh, you do? Wow, okay.
Yeah, we've got the instructions documented.
Instructions, yeah, important.
And you actually have the instructions.
I do.
Because
Yes.
this must have been like pen and paper type days.
No, I moved them over to Google Drive some years ago.
Oh, wow.
Smart man.
Nice.
Fancy.
So, but we're not going to end with Gary and I. We are going to ask you guys for what advice you would give to any other crazy, inspiring tabletop designers or just any indie game developer out there, because you guys have been doing this for quite a while now, and you're pretty solid at it.
Luckily, information on how to be successful when at least bringing a game to Kickstarter is not super coveted in the board game world. As in, I would recommend going to some of the larger board game designers' websites, and a lot of them have very helpful blogs that you can use. And they'll cover everything from, how to ship and, who to market to, do's and don'ts of board game designing. Pretty much any help topic you can find, a lot of designers will have them for you. So a lot of them have paved the way in that regard, so it's easy to do that. However, kind of getting your own resources kind of like pooled together and getting ready to that point is kind of like the difficulty that we have at least faced.
Yeah.
I think if you attend if you can get to a convention, whether it be physical or virtually, if you can get to a convention and you can go to the panels, that's where like we got to hear a lot of the key information of like what roadblocks you're going to face and what things that we can say now that we couldn't have known before, and so listening to the people who've come before you is, if you can get in that situation, do it.
So like, what about things like finding vendors and stuff? Because you guys mentioned a few, but how did you find them?
How did I find them? I think we were just kind of searching around the internet, taking some advice from people that we had met at conventions and stuff. And actually, okay, we did do all that. But ultimately, these two came from a support group that we are a part of called the Indie Game Alliance. IGA.
Yep.
And I was going to bring that up as my next point. They are a group dedicated to tabletop designers in the indie realm. And they're all about helping give you the resources that you need. They've made deals with manufacturers, retailers, distributors, everything you possibly need to make a game. And they've got like discounts and the different special things you can do by being a member. And so we are a member of them with them. We've been with them for a very long time. And both Wingo and Longpack had really good discounts with them. And so we were like, let's look into them and who are they, and that we just sort of struck up the conversation from there, and it ended up being a good fit. So that, I guess that'd be part of my advice, is there's a lot of support groups out there, something like IGA for sure. And I'm sure there's others, but that's the one we fell into and we really enjoy it.
Yeah, and if you can, going to the bigger conventions such as Gen Con, for example, if you go there, almost, I don't want to say all of them, but a huge portion of manufacturers, both local and international, have representatives at those conventions, and you can even chat with them and kind of get an idea of what they can do for you and the rates and how many games you can make, etc.
My advice is kind of on a little different aspect of the game making is, because again, I do a lot of the concept creation, so that's kind of where my brain does a lot of stuff, is like finding a good balance between making the game that you want to make, no matter what anyone tells you, because you're going to have some people that are like, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. So making the game you want to make, and at the same time, because we struggle with this a little bit in the beginning with Alkemia, remembering that you are making a game for other people to play. So you might have to let go of those mechanics that you really wanted in the game, but they're just not working in the game. So I know for us, we kind of toss them aside and say, okay, maybe this would work in a different game. So you have to, again, be willing to let go of stuff because you are making a game for other people to play, but at the same time, stick to your guns, stick to what you want to make. If you want to make a game about, I don't know, digging a hole and filling it with water, if someone tells you that's stupid, ignore them and do it anyways. Make the game that you want to make, ultimately, because you want to make a game that you're happy with. And there's going to be so many opinions and so many voices out there telling you that you're wrong or that it's bad or your font's weird or the color's weird on something. And
We've got a lot of blowback on font, it's true.
Oh, yeah.
Don't talk to us about font.
People are like, I don't want to back your game because I don't like the font. And you're like, okay.
Literally, someone said that to us.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's weird, but okay.
yeah.
The public is fickle, but it is what
Yeah.
it is.
Quite.
And
yet
the same. Sorry,
And to
go ahead.
Jeff's point more, I was going to say test your games.
Play testing.
So often. So many people. We didn't learn that lesson ourselves that Jeff was just talking about with Alkemia until we went to a lot more places, and especially Metatopia, and demoed these games for people and got like all that honest feedback about.
But striking a delicate balance and not taking to heart like, oh, this one person said this, so let's change everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes you actually have to stick to your guns and go with something that someone tried to point out to you that they didn't like. You still have to go with like playtest, and does it work?
Because your final game will never be what you originally had. Like Alkemia has transformed over the years dramatically. I have the original version. Oh no, I moved it. It's in the other room. I looked at it recently and I forgot how different it was.
I think
You
it's
want to sit
important.
down for 7 or 8 hours
To
to
make-
try original Alkemia.
to make one item.
Yeah. Can you make one item? You have 8 hours.
You need to make like 6, but can you make one?
No.
I think it's important to remember as well that when people, especially strangers, playtest your games, you can learn things from them. You can get important data from them that is not their suggestions for how to make the game better. At the end of the day, it's your game. You're probably the best suited towards figuring out how to make it good. Other people only have their sensory experience. They don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And in many cases, they know absolutely nothing about game design. So if they say something, ooh, I want to have this or that, you can sort of listen to them, but also trust yourself a little bit. You can learn things from people like game design is a lot like sort of public space design, where, there's the famous example of if you have a crossbar on a door, everybody knows push. Nobody pulls a crossbar. That's insane. So if you go up to a door and it turns out you were supposed to pull on a crossbar, that's annoying. It's a failure in design. So if you're watching your players consistently make some wrong action as far as you're concerned when using your game, it might be that as a player, they misunderstood something. But if it keeps happening, it might be that you made some design flaw and they can't tell you what happened. They don't know. They failed at whatever it was, or they missed something. But you need to keep your eyes open and notice, like, nobody's understanding this rule that I came up with. So it's not other people's fault. I have to rewrite it. I have to change it. I have to change the way that people interact with it, whatever the case may be. So it takes a little bit of psychological sleuthing, but it's an important stage.
I think this is incredible advice. It is probably, not to disparage our previous podcast guest, probably some of the most detailed and applicable advice, not just to tabletop, but also to indie video game development that I think we've heard yet. Basically listen to your audience, but also be mindful of what your audience brings to the table.
You are the designer. You're the boss.
Yeah,
right?
you're
It's
you're the boss at the end.
I mean, imagine if your house guests came over for a party and you planned nothing until they arrive. It's kind of a bad move. You shouldn't do that. You should have some idea of what you want to do.
Sometimes those random parties can be kind of fun, though.
How do you know that's how I
Well, a
plan
game
it?
jam for
That's
the
basically
video game sorts.
Yeah.
But it starts with a common language. That's the important step. Figuring out, making sure that you're speaking the same language. And a lot of times it turns out you're not. You thought you were saying the same things and you were not.
Yeah, that's incredible
That's well
advice. That's
put.
really good advice. Yeah. All right, guys. I have to say, I have loved having you all on.
Oh, it's over.
Oh, what about
It's
our in
over.
detail bios of each one?
We can include that in a write-up if you'd like. But my God, I've missed you
I
guys.
typed up 25 pages.
I've missed you guys. It's been too many years since I've seen you all, and this has been a lot of fun. And it just kind of reminds me of it actually reminds me of the night we had at FlameCon 2 in my hotel room when we were all hanging out and some of the fun conversations we've had there. So I'm glad that the world's sort of kind of reopening. I hope we get to see each other in person again. Jordan, you too. It would be nice to meet
Thanks.
you in person.
You should look into Play NYC. There's literally a train will take you right there.
I mean,
see.
I was supposed to be there as I was supposed
Sorry,
to
I said Play NYC. I'm sorry. Metatopia. You should come to Metatopia.
That's what he meant. Mhm.
Where is Metatopia?
That's in Middle
Morristown.
Morristown,
New
Morristown, New
Jersey.
Jersey.
Morristown. All right.
I do know where Morristown is. I'm gonna check that out. When is it again?
It's really
November or something.
I want to say it's November 6th through the 10th.
Okay.
Something in that range. I'm gonna be there. Some grouping of the rest might be there as well. We're not certain yet, but I'll certainly be there.
We'll see. Yes, definitely Jordan.
Definitely.
Great. I'm gonna look into that because it sounds like a great time.
It's really, really fun. I mean, I'm sorry, it's the best convention.
There's just like
Best one.
there's just walls of games to sign up for that are all testing. And that's
Yeah,
the fun.
This room is literal pieces of paper on a huge wall, and it covers the wall of all the games, all the sign up times, everything. And
Oh, wow.
just go
And
sign
if-
up for games and play them and try.
If you have any cynicism fatigue, go to Metatopia. It's just hope. Everybody's hopeful. Everyone's excited.
Well,
Everyone's
that
making
one
some-
guy
we
whose name
need
we
some
won't
hope right
mention.
now.
Oh, I'm
Other
mentioning it.
Metatopia, right?
There's some exceptions. to
There's
that,
a few
but yeah.
exceptions that we won't name.
Don't be a Gil.
Yeah, don't be a Gil.
Don't names. No names.
No names.
We can beep that out if you guys are.
He knows what
I'll
he
be
did.
sure to throw up all the information and description on it. So everyone who watches this or listens to this will have that. But again, I would love to see you guys in person again soon. It's been awesome. Thank you for doing this. And
Thank you.
It's been a great time.
You guys are a fun, creative bunch. I kind of miss the days when me and Blair had, kind of like a little crew to make Kids of Karendow.
We are the crew, Gary. It's just you and I.
I know, yeah.
The two crew. That's all
Hey,
right.
it's a crew. It's
Well, I
a
hope we
crew.
get to meet you guys someday at a convention. Actually, sit down and play Alkemia or Steepseers.
Oh,
That would be
yeah.
great.
That would be absolutely
That
great.
would be cool too.
Mhm.
Totally.
Soon. We'll make it happen. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Phat Games podcast. If you'd like to support us in our content creation, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon so that you get notifications of our new videos. Now we're going to play a song from the Steepseers soundtrack called Blossoming Fields.